Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from the 40 principles of the religion, Al-Arba Usul by Imam Al-Ghazali rahimahullah. And we began reading from reciting the Quran, and we have read part of the outer manners. The first, which is that you recite the Quran with respect and the posture of veneration. And number two, I'm just simply summarizing what we have done. Number two, the second is to yearn at certain times of the day for the greatest level of virtue and reciting it. And we began reading number three. And we just read one short paragraph, and we'll continue, inshallah, reading. The third manner is the amount of recitation, which has three levels. The least of them is that you complete the Quran once a month. The highest of them is that you complete the Quran once every 3 days. This is despite the fact that Imam Al-Ghazali is very aware of the possibility of reading it daily. It's there. He was aware of this, but he will mention why it's not recommended. He said that the Prophet ﷺ said in this respect, whoever reads the entire Quran in less than 3 days has not understood it. Okay. And it is the problem of reciting, quickly, so that the problem will be to finish. That's really the issue. And this is pretty close to the notion of hadrama, and we spoke about the translation of hadrama into mumbling is not accurate. Hadrama is really it's an acceptable mode of recitation, but does not really permit you to think, to ponder about the meaning. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم: من قرأ القرآن في أقل من 3 لم يفقهه. And the best, the middle level, is to complete the Quran once every week. As for completing it once daily, this is not recommended. It's there, it's possible, but it's not recommended. Beware of taking liberties with your intellect and saying, whatever is good and beneficial must be even better and more beneficial if done more frequently. And I think this should be like a general axiom, because this is really applicable to whether the Quran or anything else. فإن عقلك لا يهتدي إلى أسرار الأمور الإلهية وإنما تتلقاه قوة النبوة. Beware of taking liberties with your intellect and saying whatever is good and beneficial must be even better and more beneficial if done more frequently. Indeed, your intellect does not guide to the secrets of divine affairs. It is only the force of prophethood that can obtain them, so it is your obligation to follow. Ta'ah. This is the very meaning of submission. As simple as it is, it really relieves you. You just make sure that this Prophet ﷺ is really a prophet, and the rest is simply acceptance, rather than people, venturing into things that are not part of the religion, and it might lead them somewhere. Hopefully not, but it might lead sometimes to being outside the realm of religion because of the dependence of pure reason, its revelation and its prophethood, messengership. The special properties of things cannot be comprehended by analogy. Or do you not see how you were encouraged to pray throughout the day and forbidden from abandoning the prayer during it? Yet you were commanded to abandon it after dawn and in late afternoon, or when the sun rises, sets, and reaches its zenith, all of which amount to a third of the day. فعليك بالاتباع فإن خواص الأمور لا تدرك بالقياس أو ما تراك فندبت إلى الصلاة جميع النهار ونهيت عنها في أوقات معينة أمرت بتركها بعد الصبح وبعد العصر وعند الطلوع وعند الغروب والزوال وذلك ينتهي إلى قدر ثلث النهار. And really we are prohibited from praying at sunrise, sunset, zenith. Okay, these are three cosmic phenomena, if you will, so that we will not be as we don't pray to the sun, we don't pray to the moon, we don't pray to sunrise or to sunset, but this is to distinguish the salah itself from the actual moment of sunrise. This is why when they calculate the Eid prayer, of course they can pray Eid prayer after sunrise. It doesn't have to be, for example, these, a few minutes after sunrise. Anyone who lives in the West, especially in the United States, knows that the Eid prayer, for example, takes place few times. So you have the first Eid prayer, let's say at 8, then another one at 9, then another one at 10, etc. This way they could accommodate more people, so it's permissible. The most important thing is not to pray when it's when you have a cosmic phenomenon. How then do you figure when this analogy of yours is clearly unsound? Is it like someone stating that medicine is beneficial to the sick person, so whenever more is taken, it is more beneficial? Of course not. But you know well that excessive medication might kill you. As for the inner secrets of reciting the Quran, they are 5. The first is that you feel at the beginning of your recitation the magnitude of the speech by feeling the magnitude of the speaker, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bring to mind the throne, Al-Arsh, the kursi, the footstool, the heavens, the earth, and all that is between them, whether jinn, human beings, animals, or plants. Remember that the creator of all of them is one, that everything is in the grasp of his power, moving back and forth between his grace and his mercy. You want to recite his speech and thereby look at the qualities of his essence and attain awareness of the beauty of his knowledge and his wisdom. Know that just as no one touches the exterior of the bound Quranic text, the Mus'haf, except the outwardly pure, it is precluded from other than them. Likewise, the reality of its meanings and its inner dimensions are precluded from entering the heart unless it is pure from every impurity and inner filth. With the likes of this magnification, when Ikrimah radiallahu anh, opened up the Mus'haf, he would sometimes be overwhelmed and repeat, "This is the speech of my Lord. This is the speech of my Lord. هذا كلام ربي. هذا كلام ربي." In fact, overwhelmed, the Arabic is ربما غشي عليه. ربما غشي عليه. He might faint. I mean, he will be taken by the that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking to us. He's speaking to him. He's speaking to me. So ربما غشي عليه. It's not on, of course, overwhelmed, but غشي عليه, faint. He would faint really from the realization that this is the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This has been revealed to humanity, to each one of us, and not as direct recipients. Only the prophets do that, but it is meant for everyone. This is the speech of my Lord. This is the speech of my Lord. Yes. هذا كلام ربي. هذا كلام ربي. Know that the light and magnitude of his mighty speech, not being covered with the garment of letters, human capacity could not bear hearing it due to its magnitude, power, and radiant splendor. Had Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not firmly established Musa alayhi salam, he would not have been able to bear hearing it stripped of the garments of letter and sound, just as the mountain was unable to bear the initial stages of his manifestation, and thus crumbled to dust. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enabled Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam to be able to listen to revelation, to the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in a way that will accommodate Sayyidina Musa's humanity, weakness, if you will. كما لم يطغ الجبل مبادئ تجليه حتى صار دكا. Because Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam asked to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informed him that he will not be able to see him, but look at that mountain. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala manifested himself to the mountain, and it became dust. This is it. The mountain could not. And the mountain, they talk about أوتادا, as if basically we talk about something that is really rooted in the crust of the earth, okay, and nevertheless it could not stand the manifest light of the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And ultimately, all the mountains are destined to wither away. They have an appointed time. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will blow them day of judgment. And I understand that it is the lack of gravity explains the text where the mountain itself becomes like fluffy wool كالعهن المنفوش. Fluffy wool. What does it mean when the mountain becomes fluffy? Like fluffy wool. It's the lack of gravitational forces. Wallah subhanahu wa ta'ala wa alam. That which holds the atoms together. That's it. Wallah subhanahu wa ta'ala wa alam. Number 2, the second of the inner secrets is that you read while contemplating its meanings, if you are qualified to do so. Everything that rolls off your tongue while in a state of heedlessness should be repeated. So the second of the inner secrets is that you read while contemplating its meaning, if you are qualified to do so. Everything that rolls off your tongue while in a state of heedlessness should be repeated. Do not count it among your actions. It should not be the case that you are half present or just. You should be fully present. Reciting slowly is obviously only for buttressing contemplation. Ali radiallahu anhu said, there is no good in worship without understanding or reciting without contemplation. لا خير في عبادة لا فقه فيها ولا في قراءة لا تدبر فيها. And of course, fiqh, لا فقه فيه, it's understanding. It has nothing to do with fiqh as jurisprudence. And Imam Al-Ghazali in Ihya Ulum when he spoke about what is it that he was going to revive, and he wanted to revive the original notion of fiqh, which definitely was more comprehensive. And do not dare fall in love with yourself due to the number of times you complete the entire Quran. For slowly reciting a single verse with contemplation for the whole night is better for you than reading the entire Quran twice in a row. So this is really about counting. And I thought about what we do nowadays. We have counters, like we do count. You can wear it as a ring. It does have a very small belt like that you can tighten it around your. You can just put it on your index so that you can hit it with your thumb. Usually you count your tasbih, your dhikr, glorifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm worried. It's not legitimate. If it does encourage you to do dhikr, then by all means, do count if it does encourage you. But if the number becomes the aim rather than the dhikr in itself, the connection, then how good is it to count? How good is it to count? So as I said, it worries me. If it does help you, go ahead by all means. If it becomes problematic, that you'll become preoccupied with the number, that you will that you have made dhikr 10,000 times, 20,000 times, whatever, 5,000 times, 1,000 times. And I know from a story that Sheikh Hamza Yusuf mentioned in one of his videos, that timing, rather than saying food will be ready in an hour, for example, it will be, for example, the equivalent of recitation, for example, Surah let's say Surah Al-Baqarah, okay, or making dhikr such and such a number, rather than mentioning a specific time per se. So going back to what Imam Al-Ghazali said, and do not dare fall in love with yourself due to the number of times you can complete the entire Quran. وإياك أن تصير مشغوفا بعد الختمات على نفسك. Allah's Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam once recited, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, 20 times repeatedly. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، فرددها 20 مرة. وقال أبو ذر رضي الله عنه: قام رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بنا ليلة فقام بآية يرددها: إن تعذبهم فإنهم عبادك وإن تغفر لهم فإنك أنت العزيز الحكيم. Abu Dhar said, Allah's Messenger وسلم, once spent a night with us. While standing in prayer, he recited over and over again, إن تعذبهم فإنهم عبادك وإن تغفر لهم فإنك أنت العزيز الحكيم. If you punish them, they are your slaves. If you forgive them, then indeed you are the mighty, the wise. Tamim al-Dari once stood at night reciting his words, subhanahu wa ta'ala: أم حسب الذين اجترحوا السيئات أن نجعلهم كالذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات. Do those who perpetrate evil deeds think that will make them like those who believe and do righteous deeds? And Sa'id bin Jubair once stood at night reciting his words, the following verses, the words from the Quran: وَامْتَازُوا الْيَوْمَ أَيُّهَا الْمُجْرِمُونَ. But stand aside this day, O you criminals. It strikes, fear in the heart. One would worry. One does not want to be amongst those that associate anything with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One does not want to be amongst those who committed grave sins. One does not want to be among those who are considered criminals. One does not want to be amongst those who are considered non-believers. Perhaps the most suited to you is that one of the Gnostics said, بعض العارفين, I complete a recitation of the entire Quran once every Friday. Once every Friday. And not only that, I have also been in the process of completing this recitation for the past 30. I mean, he went on basically every Friday, that's every week, once every month, and once every year. Have also been in the process of completing his recitation for the past 30 years and have not finished yet. So this عارف said, لي في كل جمعة ختمة وفي كل شهر ختمة وفي كل سنة ختمة ولي ختمة منذ 30 سنة ما فرغت منها بعد. Okay. To explain this is about whether حسب درجات التدبر، فإن القلب في بعض الأوقات لا يحتمل التدبر الطويل فليكن التدبر الطويل ختمة خاصة. Verily the heart cannot bear long contemplation sometimes, hence prolonged contemplation should be for a special kind of complete recitation. It's obvious that we talk about, it's not that he would finish on Friday and then he will start one for a whole month, a khatma, and then he completes one every year. No, it's he has a weekly recitation of the whole Quran. He has a monthly recitation, which is really longer. It takes him longer because he contemplates much more. Okay, and he has an annual khatma, which would take definitely much more than all this. And then a khatma that he began 30 years ago. ما فرغت منها بعد. He's not done reciting. He's contemplating every single verse, taking his time to think about the meaning of the words, what's the message, because sometimes the context itself does help, and I think there's something beyond this. Imam Al-Ghazali said, he began by saying ما قاله بعض العارفين. So we talk about someone who بإذن الله عز وجل has cleansed his heart, giving up sins altogether, being on the he expects from his heart, from himself, much more, no excess, but much more. But once the heart is illuminated with divine light, then knowledge, I believe this, that wisdom, understanding will start flooding his heart, her heart too. We have had so many women scholars in the history of Islam, alhamdulillah. We still have the third and the fourth and the fifth. The third, of the inner secrets is that in your contemplation you harvest the fruits of realization from its branches and pick them from their proper places. Do not seek out poison from where you seek jewels, nor jewels from where you seek out scent and aloes. Okay, what is it that he is trying to say? أن تجتني في تدبرك ثمار المعرفة من أغصانها. So there are proper places where you basically seek the fruit. You go to the branches. And here we talk about the fruit of knowledge. The fruits of realization. It's the fruit ثمار المعرفة. It's the fruit of knowledge. And pick them from their proper places. Do not seek out poison from where you seek jewels. Okay, الترياق is not poison. It's if we talk about poison, it's the antidote. Okay, it's the antidote. It's really the each type of poison has its own antidote. Maybe some of them might not have antidote. Not every poison. Some poison will be like protein that once it reaches the arteries, it becomes solid, pretty much like the white of the egg. When we boil it, it becomes hardened at temperature. As long as it is cold, it remains liquid, and this is really why reptiles are cold-blooded. So when it injects its venom into the human veins and what have you, the heat in our body is enough to make it solid, and this is how you'll have a heart attack. But some kinds of poison, that's not how they work. It really devastates the tissues, wherever it is, it becomes basically it destroys. It's not about blocking the arteries; it destroys the tissues. It destroys the muscle, wherever it is. It destroys. At any rate, that's my understanding of the taryaq. Nor Jews from where you seek scent and aloes. Well, misk is musk, okay, and the next one is oud. Is it's the bark. It has a very beautiful smell. It's the special bark of a tree. That grows close to the equator. So each fruit has its branch, and each jewel has its mine. Each jewel has its mine. That's منجم, for example. Here it's ولكل جوهر معدنا. That's not المعدن in Arabic is that which has stayed in inside the earth for a long time to become a property of the of whatever we're trying to describe, whether it's a jewel or iron, and it is used allegorically when we talk about human being. What's the ma'dan of such and such person? So we might say, for example, that generosity is his ma'dan. Okay, it's not something. It's not a one-time generosity. It's something that has been entrenched in his psyche, for example, in his upbringing, coming from a family of generous people. Then it will become a madden. It has been there for a long time, deep in the layers, of course, metaphorically speaking. Understanding this will be easy for you if you know the 10 categories into which we have divided the Quran, which are 10 minds. وإنما تيسر لك هذا بأن تعرف الأصناف العشرة حصرنا فيها أقسام القرآن فيها 10 معادن. 10 معادن is 10 minerals really rather than mines. Okay, elements if you will, but not really mines. Well, okay, this should be enough inshallah for this dars, and we'll meet again tomorrow بإذن الله عز وجل. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.